go into the fall with a new, refreshed mindset. I want to feel more calm. I want to feel more confident. I want to just, I want to make a change. Now, how do we do that? Because I know a lot of people are feeling the same. I want to just, they've learned a lot over the last year with us, or even the last few months, if they've just done the summer program. They've learned a lot, they've changed a lot. Is it possible to go and decide, like, okay, in the fall, I want to just come at it with a new mindset? Is that even possible? And if so, how do we do that?
It's always possible. It's always
Okay.
possible. And something you did beautifully just then was you started at the beginning, because unless we know that there's something that we want to change, we don't know what to change. But you've noticed something in you that is telling you, right, I need to unplug, or I really need to reset. You're being thoughtful and you're being mindful, and you're thinking, okay, I have had a couple of years and I have been carrying on. I'm still on the roller coaster, and perhaps you're noticing something. Maybe you're
Yeah.
noticing that time is flying by, or you're missing moments. And that's when we have this incentive, or this, I suppose, agenda to think, hang on, I want something different. I want to smell the roses, or I want to be able to, just sit or read a book or be by the pool. Whatever that is, that's the
Mm.
goal. We want to get, like you do, set your intention. What would the goal be? How do you want to feel? How do you want your mind to be? How do you want your body to feel? And then we think, okay, how do we get there? And it is small steps, but you've got to think, right, I want it. And when we want that calm confidence, we're going to be more likely to invest in what are we going to do to get there, instead of nothing can change. I'm going to change nothing. And I'm going to find myself a year from now feeling and doing the same things.
Would you agree that it's less about things you don't want to do anymore and more about things that you want to add in?
That's a lovely reframe. I think that's powerful, because a lot of people do, with the power of the words that we talk about so often, when we think, I can change, I can learn more. I'm looking forward to leveling up and being on that growth mindset, to be thinking, I'm learning, I'm adjusting, I'm understanding more. The journey isn't just there. I'm at the destination, it's forever. So I think, absolutely, think, do it. Find out what you want and then go for it.
How do we show up better than we did before?
So first of all, it's the showing up. Then
Yeah.
it is that setting the goal, thinking, okay, what how do I want to do this? Do I want to keep learning? Do I want to understand my body even more? Do I want to look inside my mind to understand my triggers, my patterns, what might have held me up in the past? But also being mindful of, wow, look where I was perhaps last year or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, and congratulate yourself on the journey, because you're not starting from zero. You have now accumulated some momentum. You have built up some stamina. Even if you think, oh my goodness, I may have derailed a little bit during the summer, that's important to know. It's
Yeah.
data. It's data to be thinking, okay, when that happens, how do we just correct the course, or how do we adjust the course? There's nothing wrong with that. That's life. As we get, to these junctures, do we turn right? Do we turn left? Life happens. So use it as information for yourself to think, okay, stuff was different, but how did I navigate that? Did I
Yeah.
do it well enough? Am I coming back feeling like, okay, I've learned some things about how I am when I'm less on a structured timetable.
What is the best way to get in the right mindset to start? People want to be ready beyond like meal
Mm.
prep and doing all those things. Really get in that mindset. And is there anything we can do to shift from the summer into more of a like starting a course or really getting into it?
Well, preparation, okay,
Yeah.
because you might have feelings, you want to catch your emotions and think, how am I feeling about the start of the new course? Am I excited? Am I
Mm.
nervous? Am I worried? Am I really eager? What is that emotion and why? What are you thinking about that? Because the thought is probably, I've got some more in the tank. I have learned so much already. I can't wait to learn more. I managed to catch a few lives last time, but now I've, maybe sorted out my timetable so I can watch more of them, or I know how to record them, whatever that is. What is the thought behind the emotion? And then we've got to think, okay, if there is anxiety or worry, well, we love a plan. Anxiety loves a plan. If you're thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do on day one? Am I going to have the right things? Am I going to have, the bits and bobs in my cupboard? Will I be able to follow it? Will I know how to use the app? Well, some of it's out of our control, because
Yeah.
if we're doing it for the first time, we're going to be learning. And that's okay. Embrace being the learner. Embrace being at the start, asking the questions, using the support group to say, how do I connect to the live, or how do I use the app, or oops a daisy, it's in kilograms instead of pounds. How do I change it over? It's
Yeah.
okay to ask. But with regards to that sort of readiness for change, we know humans move in and out of it. But there's a readiness for change model that's this pre-contemplative, is we don't even know we want to change. It's before we even know. Then we're in contemplative. So right now, people might be back in contemplative. I really want to do a little bit different here. I'm going to
Yes.
get some more things. I'm going to tell more people that I'm doing it. I'm going to involve my family. What are those extra bits you want to do this time round? And then in the contemplative bit, that's the action. That's the getting the things. Whether, say, somebody's thinking, okay, I'm going to add some movement. Well, now they're going to need to do some homework. Are they going to do movement in a gym? They're going to do movement at their home. And where would that be? What would it look like? And what do they need? Do they need trainers? Do they need a sports bra? Do they need a route? Because if we have a plan, we're more likely to do it. Okay, we're more likely to think, okay, I'm planning to walk to the post box and back every morning before I tune into Gina. And so then we've got to wait a little bit, unless we want to start now, because the next stage of change is action, and that's the
Mm.
doing. Okay, that's the doing of the new things, and knowing that when we're learning, we're going to have these ups and downs. It's not linear. We're going to learn. We're going to feel all the feels of I can't do it, or I'm really winning. I'm great. So we're going to start accepting that part of it, thinking, if our children were going to school, they're going to have good and bad days. If they're having
Yes.
lessons, there's going to be, easy bits and hard bits, strengths and weaknesses, challenges, and things that we excel in. And then eventually, we're going to move out of action and actually be in maintenance, which is why your beautiful program speaks so well to the stages of change. And that's where it's become more automatic.
Would you suggest that people look at the next program as a fresh start or a continuation?
Everybody will be different, but if they sit with themselves, if they're listening to this today,
Yeah.
let them ask themselves that question. How
Mm.
how do I want to turn up? Is it a fresh start, or is it a continuation? Okay, because the graduates that have had the summer off, how are they looking at this when they go back? Is it a fresh start? For some of them, maybe. Some of them might be like, oh, I might have done better last year if I, had knuckled down or gone out a
Yeah.
little less. And they might
Yeah.
really be trying to intentionally visualize a better start. Some people be like, I'm keeping going. This is working. I'm not going to change something that's not broken. Let the
Yes.
momentum carry us. And we don't want to just suddenly expect us to be totally different, because that might lead us to feel like we're failing. If we've been
Mm.
running, I don't know, a mile every morning, we don't want to then think, well, now I'm going to expect myself to be able to run 10 miles. It's probably going to hurt us, and we're going to probably feel defeated. So we also want to be realistic and think, is it a continuation? And of course, we can accelerate with the continuation, but let's set ourselves up for success.
People doing the program now. So this could have been someone's first program, even the 10th program. They've invited friends, they've invited family, maybe even coworkers. Any suggestions for navigating that? I find sometimes people will get so caught. Like, we've had people tell all their friends and family, and then they forget to sign up for the program themselves. I think there's this thing, and I used to do this a lot in my life. I feel like I couldn't do, I wanted to bring people in on the journey with me, not just in weight loss, which obviously I've done, but by the
Yes.
hundreds of thousands, but in other things in life. And then I make it about them, and not myself again. Don't get me wrong, doing this with friends, with family, with a partner, as a community is hugely, massively beneficial. Like, we know that people
Yeah.
statistically do better when they are surrounded by people and they do things together, but it can be tricky. And what about the friends that start the program and they're not doing the things? And it's hard. I know, because I help people do this and answer the questions. It's what I do for a living. But a lot of times, sometimes when people are bringing their friends, they're now that person that people are going to. And they take on sometimes that sense of failure if that person is not doing what they need to do or they're not understanding. How do we deal with that? Because my advice is, you've introduced them to an amazing program that really is great. It's great. It's great. It's great value for the price that people pay. It's great support. It's great information. It's great. But from there, it's really, you got to hand it off and let them decide what they're going to do and how they're going to show up. But that's tricky. Any advice for people navigating that, or who may be navigating that soon?
I think the advice would be everything you just pointed out, to know that that's a thing, to know
Mm,
if you're caught up in that, if you're playing that role, whether it is saying, hey, you're doing it wrong, because then we might
yeah.
even become helicoptering, or however we find our position. I think it's hard to break away, to think how you're right. As you were saying, Gina, that's their journey. And they may have to do it wrong a few times to then decide, okay, I'm going to invest differently in
Yes.
this. I'm going to tweak this differently. And if they step away, that's their decision. But we've got to stay on course. And what better way to show that this works is by us doing it. And then hopefully, then maybe they'll come back. And that's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
that they might say, no, it's not for me right now. And then their eyes start to think, well, my goodness, it did work. So I'm going to have another whirl at this. Okay. And we don't want to then say, oh, no, you can't now. We want to embrace it and say, of course, it takes people a different amount of time. Yes, that's why I was going to say that, Risa. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's so true. It's even with our children, isn't it? Sometimes we become too controlling because we want it all to work well. But part of learning is the failing. First attempt in learning, fail. It's about, how do we manage this? How do we learn? We can't
Yes.
read a map unless we've been lost. And we want to be practicing that.
Well, the fail is so much a part of people's success stories, and we've heard this so many times. People started, they stopped, they didn't follow through and finish, and then they came back, and that part of their journey and the things that they worked through to get back and follow through, I mean, that's what brought them to where they are. Some people are crushing the summer, the scale is moving, they're feeling amazing, they're so happy with their, they're maintaining their weight, they're doing the thing. There are some people who feel like the summer was a wash, there's not enough time, they didn't lose the weight they wanted to lose leading up to the fall. How do we reconcile that and get in a more positive mindset?
As you say it, it's heavy, isn't it? When we feel like we're failing and when we feel like it was a washout, and it feels heavy. And if we're doing that piece of introspection and thought, we want to be unpacking that. When we think that and when we feel that, often our behaviors end up making it worse. Okay, so we want to be able to think, okay, we can
Mhm.
feel that. We can feel like it's totally, we never want to push feelings away. We want to own our feelings. I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry, and that's okay. But why? How do we want to proceed now? Do we want to give up? Do we want to step away? Do we want to do what we were doing before that apparently probably didn't work because they're
Yeah.
looking for something new? Okay, so we want to be very realistic and honest with ourselves and think, let's take a look at this. If I've plateaued, brilliant. My body is getting used to this. If I have slipped, where did I slip? Could I come back onto the rail? Could I think, okay, I haven't been drinking as much water, I haven't been fueling my body. We want to be able to think about the why, but we really want to unpack the pattern of when we feel that way. How do we avoid doing the things that make it worse? Because often
Mm.
we do things that in the short term might feel like there. I've cut the ties. I'm out of this. I'm back in charge. But are we? Or is our
Yeah.
emotion in charge? Is our disappointment driving the bus?
Yeah. Is our disappointment driving the bus?